It's here in Paris. More than 20 years ago, the two French artisans met and sealed a friendship when Lorenz Bäumer decided to purchase two of the very first watches that F.P Journe made. Today, we get an exclusive look at both pieces and we speak to Lorenz Bäumer about that unique friendship. Lorenz Bäumer, it's a privilege to be here in one of the only boutiques on Place Vendôme to be held by a living and breathing creator. For those who don't know you, you're a Parisian jeweler known for creating bespoke pieces, most notably for the Princess of Monaco. You're also a Knight of the Legion of Honor, a surfer, and a watch collector.
That's absolutely right. I try to do all of these things with a lot of passion. And I'm very proud to show these two beautiful watches because I love watches. You know, watches, they link for me a lot of different things that are in my life. I'm an engineer, so there's a lot of engineering. It's the history of mankind, which is there. And it's also got a lot of different aspects in terms of design, which is very important to me. So those are some of my favorite watches, right after the watches that I designed for myself, which is a daguerreotype watch with a daguerreotype dial. So I wear most of the time this watch, but then, you know, I have a deep friendship, admiration, and also a love for the watches that François-Paul Journe designs and creates.
Before we talk about these two watches, we have to talk about the man who made them. Very few people knew F.P Journe 20 years ago. You were one of the privileged few. Can you tell us how you first heard of him?
So it started off actually as more of a friendship. You know, I met François-Paul Journe many years ago. He hadn't started his own brand. And I met François-Paul Journe through one of my workshops, who was a wonderful man, who's extraordinarily talented, Jean-Pierre Brun. And he told me, listen, there's this young guy, he's starting his watches, and he's done extraordinary complicated watches as a subcontractor, a little bit like me when I was designing all the Chanel fine jewelry. So I said, okay, I'd love to meet him. And I immediately fell in love with the man. You know, he has so much energy, he's so enthusiastic, he's so knowledgeable. And then one day he said, you know, I'm going to launch my own brand. And in order to finance it, we're going to use the Breguet system of Souscription, which means some people are going to pay upfront money, but they'll get the watches at a special price. Would you be eventually interested in joining them? You know, and at that time, it was a lot of money for me because I was starting my business and I loved the guy and I knew he was good. And I just said, yeah, I'll do it. I had no idea how much he was going to ask for, what the watch would look like. I knew it was going to be a tourbillon, the first one.
Do you think you would have gone for it, whatever the model F.P Journe was creating, or did the tourbillon speak to you specifically?
Well, I've always dreamt of having a tourbillon because it's part of the history of mankind, of precision, of navigating the ocean. So it was a fantasy for me. And I immediately understood that the tourbillon he designed was going to be groundbreaking. So I made the check and I waited for a little while until the first one arrived, which is this watch here. And the minute I saw it, I really fell in love with it. So I thought it was really beautiful because it's this mixture between the past and the future. You see, it's got some traditional features, but on the other hand, this was very modern to show it that way. It had this little, you know, special window here, which is le remontoir d'égalité, which François-Paul explained me 20 times how it worked. I'm still not sure I've gotten it right. And then it also had the whole technical side. You see the beauty of it, all the little details, the craftsmanship.
And after this first piece, he makes a second, Résonance, which he offers to the 20 owners of the tourbillon. And here you add a couple of elements of your own with a platinum and pink gold case and a white gold dial. Is that, do you think, the creative director in you that wanted to get involved and participate?
Well, I always like to put my little touch and, you know, to have something a little special. And I thought it would be wonderful to have something different from the first watch. And I know how difficult it is to solder platinum with pink gold. It's something that's close to impossible. And actually, François-Paul Journe said in the beginning, oh, I can't do it. And then a little while later, because he loves challenges, he loves to push boundaries, he loves to do things that have rarely or never been done, he said, I can do it. And I said, okay, let's do it. And that's how we went for the Résonance. And at that time, it was really interesting because that whole concept of Résonance was so new. And it was very exciting for me as an engineer to have these two mechanisms that would be even more precise because their hearts are beating together at the same time.
So in addition to the pieces, you have still with you some important papers that came with them.
When I got involved with these watches, I kept everything that I could, every paperwork, everything that was keepable, and I have them here with me. You know, I mean, I tried to have some sketches of what I was going to get. This is like the technical drawing at that time of the résonance with all the little details, and also here the principle of the résonance, which was, you know, something that had always fascinated him. And I also have, of course, the box in which it came. You know, it's really interesting because there's a whole evolution on the François-Paul Journe boxes.
I mean, this is something that you could frame.
Yeah, this is, I mean,
it's an important part of history.
It's a trace of the history of watches and of watchmaking. It's the original sketch on what the watch was going to look and on the researches. And you really realize how much intelligence, knowledge, how much genius goes into conceiving a watch like that. Receiving those pieces was definitely something really special to me. It connected me to something that I didn't know so well, which was the art and the history of watchmaking. And then also it connected me to François Paul. You know, we've been friends ever since. We see one another regularly, and I admire that vision of him. So receiving these watches was very, very meaningful to me.